Hey everyone, a member of the Dehya mains community, Sad Mountain of Salt, had a very interesting and well-written post about Dehya, and I got permission from him, so I would like to highlight it for the YouTube audience. It's not just numbers. Listen, Dehya is bad, we know Mihoyo knows it, everyone knows. But what gets muddled from a lot of bitter thing discussion is that the numbers are why she is bad, but that is only a part of it, and arguably it's not even the largest part. Don't get me wrong, they are very bad, but even if Dehya's numbers were doubled, her kit would still be incredibly poorly designed. So what I hope to do with this post is explain a lot of the views that I have shared and gotten from others across Reddit, Discord, and some in-game players that kinda get buried in the numbers post. When it's survey time, and if the issues are still there, we can come back to this post to paraphrase so we don't get blocked by the filters. If more things need to be added to the post that aren't numbers related, I will add them into the post. Her tanking. There is supposedly to be a tank support, but she doesn't do that well. Again, without the numbers, it still sucks. She somehow managed to get two of the worst forms of tanking, absentee and AoE. Absentee tanking. Dehya is presumably meant to be off-field the majority of the time. This method of tanking is generally regarded as the most unfun version of tanking. Think of any tanks from any other game. Warriors from Final Fantasy XIV, Garen from LOL, D.Va from Overwatch. Ideally, if there aren't summoning tanks, a tank that summons lesser minions to soak aggro and damage, the preferred playstyle of a tank player is to be on the front line protecting one's friend from blood and fists. This method of tanking would also be more fitting to their established character. Tanks also tend to offer something beside absorbing damage, be it debuffs, CC, or even boosting their own damage. Dehya does none of these, so it feels as though she takes damage for no reason. AoE tanking. Dehya's tanking is also limited to an AoE field. This will be endlessly frustrating in a large majority of the more difficult fights, especially since a lot of the new enemies love to be mobile, which I do think is a way to make more dynamic fights. It does sort of kick sand in the eyes of Dehya's kit. Since Dehya doesn't generate any more aggro than usual, there's nothing stopping enemies from leaving the field, meaning there would be endless moments of place skill down, enemies move away from it, switch back to Dehya and reposition the skill, enemy moves again. Now you've gotta wait for her cooldown if you need the mitigation. Her burst. This one is the doozy. This is arguably the most continuous part of her kit. Without mentioning the numbers, the other issues people have with her burst are the duration, the lack of autonomy, its poor synergy with her skill, and the animation. The duration. For something that's supposed to be the big moment for the big badass battle warrior Dehya, it isn't very befitting. No one is really asking for similar levels of screen time, at least without other significant changes, but most everyone agrees that 4 seconds is far too short. The lack of autonomy. This is the big one. This one is so big that I think that if it was changed, a large majority of their fans would go from very disappointed smiling behind the tears to content with a grimace. Grimace, what does that mean? I never heard that word before. Grimace, an ugly, twisted expression of a person's face, typically expressing disgust, pain, or worry. Interesting. Dehya's burst is a series of punches that end in a kick. You cannot control who she targets or when she punches. Not only is this taking the satisfaction of big meaty punches from the players, but it is bound to always place the player in very unfun situations. Anyone that frequently uses Catalyst can tell you that the auto-targeting system is not your friend. Situations that most Dehya players would find themselves in would be 1. Burst and the enemy runs or phases out. 2. Burst and she focuses all of her attacks on the minions and not the big boss in front of her. 3. Burst and she has to dodge out of the huge AoE or big attack and loses her burst. The lack of synergy. Dehya's skill disappears whenever she uses her burst. She herself cannot benefit from one of her supposed biggest strengths, her animations. While looking flashy at this, it was quickly realized that her burst is really the same punch flip left to right with a nice dive kick. Heizo has more dynamic punches. Compared to her Sumeru compatriots and even Inazuman characters, like she is very under-animated. Even her skill field doesn't have the polish one would expect after looking at the rest of the Sumeru cast. I find very telling about her quality control that at some point someone CTR plus ZD the shading of her pants, and no one could be bothered to add it back. General kit characterization. Many feel that Dehya's current method of play is very at odds with the character we know. Dehya in the story is presented as someone that is always ready to fight on the front line, especially for her friends. To have her idling, sitting by waiting while her friends engage in battle is gross mischaracterization. Yes, she is supposed to be a bodyguard, but a bodyguard doesn't simply wait and look while someone throws coconut at the queen. A bodyguard is in front smashing smashing coconuts out of the air and chasing down the coconut pelter, making sure they regret all of their life choices. The op finally ended with this. I wanted to type this as a way for the community to have an easy way to explain to others that might not understand what it is all of us Dehya's wanters are on about. So please feel free to link this to anyone that wants to know what's the hubbub about. I wanted this post to be explicitly not about the numbers, so people don't get lost in calculations about the misnomer that is the meta. Also as a way to clearly and concisely explain why Dehya is fundamentally in a terrible place currently. If you feel there are any more non-number related reasons, or you feel I could better explain the issue stated above, comment and I will continue to edit this post as needed. So what you guys think about this? He did not mention anything about numbers, and I think that this was very well written. Yes, she has damage mitigation, but no, when she uses her burst, she doesn't have any benefit from that. Another thing is that if she bursts, she might target a hilly troll instead of the big boss in the field. And we're not sure if you could control the targeting, if you could move left or right. Like, like if you click Ayato's E and you start doing slashes with no enemies around, you could change the directions. We're not sure if she could do that as yet. And in mischaracterization, Dehya is supposed to be this powerhouse, she's supposed to be very strong. Yes, she is a bodyguard, but bodyguards do protect, and to protect, you have to be able to clear the way. You have to be able to stop any incoming forces. But it seems like this has nothing to do with her kit. I know a lot of you are getting tired of the Dehya post, but you have to understand that these players were saving since 3.0. We didn't expect a broken unit. What's the point of using her burst? You see, she will be soaking in all these damages that by the time you switch to her, she will be very low on HP and she won't benefit from her own skill. So she's most likely gonna be at risk of dying on the field. And what's gonna be left? The purpose of her kit is not to bring a healer or a shielder. So when she's down, the rest of the units in your team are gonna struggle. I would like if you guys could check out the Dehya mains community on Reddit. It's very active right now compared to any other Reddit I've seen so far. Let me know what you guys think about this. Leave your thoughts down below. Hit the like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Shout out to Sad Mountain of Sword. Thank you for giving me permission to highlight this. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.
Stars shining really, moon visions in my sight.